Here's the procedure for oven drying a sample presented by Catalina Pavic. Here is some background information before we begin the procedure. First, moisture content can be determined by drying the sample to a constant mass. Second, oven drying will heat the sample to evaporate the water found inside. Third, dry matter residue can be calculated and measured after drying is completed using the following calculation. First, you take the dry weight of the sample on the dish, subtract it from the tare weight of the dish, and then divide that by the initial weight of the sample and dish minus the tare weight of the dish, and times by 100. Here are some precautions that should be taken before beginning this procedure. First, analytical balances are delicate equipment and should always be handled with care. Never place it on an unstable surface. You should always ensure that the balance is level, and you should avoid dust and moisture as this may damage the sample and ruin the balance. Desiccators are heavy and fragile glass containers that are filled with a solid, usually calcium chloride, which absorbs water. This is similar to a silicone packet found in most packaged goods. Please use caution when handling this equipment. You should always slide and not pull when opening the lid of the desiccator. You should always use gloves or tongs to handle glass vials because the oils from your skin will increase the apparent mass of the vials. Finally, drying ovens present a burn hazard. You should never handle materials from drying ovens without the use of proper protective equipment such as gloves or tongs. Here are some materials that would be necessary for beginning this procedure. 2 and 4 decimal analytical balance, a fan-forced oven set at 100 degrees Celsius, scintillation glass vials, or simply glass vials, spatulas for mixing, gloves, finger cots or tongs to handle the vials, a desiccator, mortar and pestle, ground or crushed sample. Scintillation glass vials look like this. The number you will use will depend on the sample size. You should place these empty glass vials into a forced fan oven, which looks like this, set at 100 degrees Celsius for 1 hour. Then, using tongs, you should remove them and place them into a desiccator. Remember to slide the lid and not pull it. You should place them into a desiccator for no longer than 2 hours. Then, using an analytical balance, which looks like this, note the leveling screw on the left-hand corner, which is used to level the balance. You should place them here, weigh them individually, and record your data onto a data sheet. Then, using a mortar and pestle, which looks like this, you should grind up your sample. Using a spatula, you should place them into the glass vials and then reweigh them using the analytical balance. Remember to record your data sheet. Then, place them into a forced fan oven set at 100 degrees Celsius for 3 hours. Then, remember to use tongs and place them into a desiccator to cool for no longer than 2 hours. Then, reweigh them using an analytical weight balance and remember to record them onto your data sheet. Here's the procedure in a review. First, you can prepare your sample using the mortar and pestle and set it aside once you need it. Carefully transfer the empty vials to the preheated oven and dry them at 100 degrees Celsius for 1 hour. Then, remove the vials from the oven using the tongs and place them into a desiccator to cool for 2 hours. Then, weigh the vials using the analytical balance and record your data sheet. Place 1 to 2 grams of your ground sample inside the dish using a spatula. Mix the sample and reweigh it. You should place the filled vials and 2 unfilled blank vials into the oven at 100 degrees Celsius for 3 hours. Then, using tongs, you should carefully transfer the vials from the oven to the desiccator to cool. Then, release the vacuum formed in a desiccator using the valve on top of the lid. Remember to slide the lid and not pull it. Then, remove the vials from the desiccator and weigh. Then record the weights of the dried vials onto your data sheet and perform the calculation of the moisture content presented earlier. This procedure should give you enough information to perform oven drying procedure for samples such as plants or animal tissue. Here are the image credits used for this procedure.